A scream cut through the quiet of Maplewood Elementary's hallway like glass shattering on tile. Inside room 12, a girl lay on the floor, her cheek red, tears streaking her face. Above her stood Ms. Wren, the teacher everyone trusted. Everyone adored, her hand still trembling from the slap she'd just delivered. The class was silent. No one dared move. No one except a boy in the back who whispered, barely audible, "She hit Maya." Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Maya Carter was only 10, but her father had raised her to stand tall. She wasn't loud, never disobedient. That morning, she'd simply asked Ms. Wren why she'd marked her test wrong when the answer was clearly right. The teacher's face had hardened. Her voice, cold and venomous, had hissed, "Don't you talk back to me, girl." And before Maya could blink, the slap came hard, deliberate, and full of something darker than anger. The children sat frozen. The clock ticked. Ms. Wren straightened her blouse, pretending nothing had happened, and said in a clipped voice, "Now, open your books to page 40. But one child, Liam, slipped his phone under the desk and started recording, because even at 10, he knew what he was seeing wasn't just wrong. It was evil. When the bell rang, Maya didn't wait. She ran out the door, down the hallway, clutching her backpack like a shield. She didn't cry until she reached the curb, and when she did, it wasn't just from pain. It was from disbelief. The world she thought was safe, her school, her teacher, had turned into a place that hurt her for no reason at all. Her father, Marcus Carter, was fixing a fence at home when he got the call. "Mr. Carter, there's been an incident," the principal began, but Marcus barely heard the rest. His hands clenched the phone until the plastic creaked. His voice, low and steady, said only one thing: "I'm on my way." Marcus hadn't always been a quiet man. Years ago, in a desert halfway across the world, he was the one they sent when things went bad, when lives were on the line and seconds meant everything. Former U.S. Special Forces, tactical expert. When his wife passed, he'd promised Maya he'd leave that world behind. He'd traded rifles for garden tools, command tents for quiet mornings making pancakes. He thought peace would last. But when he stepped into that school and saw his daughter's swollen cheek, something inside him shifted. The calm broke. Miss Wren stood by the principal's desk, arms crossed, pretending she was the victim. "She was being aggressive," she said. She raised her voice at me. Marcus stared at her, his eyes cold and unreadable. "She's 10, he said softly. "And you hit her." The principal tried to step in, voice trembling, "Mr. Carter, please," but Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten, simply stepped closer to Ms. Wren and said, "You're lucky all I'm giving you right now are words." Outside, the hallway was filling with murmurs. Word was spreading. Students whispered. Parents checked their phones. The video Liam took was already online, a teacher's hand striking a defenseless child. Within minutes, the internet was on fire. By sunset, news vans parked outside the school. Ms. Wren hid behind tinted car windows as officers escorted her away for questioning. The crowd erupted not with violence, but with something far louder: unity. Parents who'd once nodded politely in passing now stood shoulder to shoulder, demanding justice for a little girl. But inside his car, Marcus held Maya close. She was still trembling, still asking, "Daddy, why did she hate me?" And Marcus, the man who'd seen war, who'd faced enemies with guns and bombs, couldn't find an answer. He brushed her hair back and whispered, "Because some people never learned what strength really looks like." "But you'll show them?" That night, he stayed by her side until she slept. On the table nearby lay his old military badge, worn and faded. For years, he'd kept it buried, afraid of who he used to be. But now he understood. It wasn't violence that defined him. It was the courage to protect what mattered most. Days later, the video hit national headlines. Protests filled the streets. The school board tried to contain the fire, but truth doesn't stay buried. Ms. Wren's history surfaced, complaints ignored, bias unaddressed. She was fired, charged, and stripped of her license. When the reporters came for Marcus, he said only this: "My daughter doesn't need revenge. She needs respect." And when Maya returned to school weeks later, she didn't walk in alone. The parents stood at the gate clapping softly as she passed. Her classmates smiled, not out of pity, but admiration.
Oh.
The same hall that once echoed with fear now hummed with something new: hope. Ms. Wren thought she could silence a child. She was wrong. The truth had a louder voice. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Marcus watched his daughter playing outside. Her laughter, fragile but free, drifted through the air. For the first time in weeks, he smiled.
Aye.
Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And in that quiet yard, with the light fading and the crickets beginning to sing, it found its way home again. If this story moved you, tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe every child deserves safety, respect, and justice, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories like this one that need to be heard, and you're part of the reason they're told.